Breaking news out of Pittsburgh. The Steelers are gearing up for a massive Week 1 showdown against the New York Jets, and all eyes are on one man, T.J. Watt. What the team is planning for him this season could completely change the way opposing offenses have to prepare. Stick around, because the latest updates are shaking up expectations in a big way. But before we dive deeper into this breaking story, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss the latest Steelers updates. Now let's get straight into the news. One of the biggest questions heading into this season is whether the Steelers will use T.J. Watt in new and creative ways. In past years, nearly every snap saw him lined up against the right tackle. Effective, yes, but also predictable. This year, insiders suggest that Pittsburgh may be looking to move Watt around more than ever before. Expect to see him sliding inside on certain downs, switching sides of the line, and being used in stunt packages that free him from constant double teams and chips. It's all about giving him more opportunities to wreck plays. As for Week 1 against the Jets, don't be surprised if the Steelers stick to the basics early on. New York has a rookie right tackle, Armanu from Missouri, and what will likely test him again and again. But as the season unfolds, the Steelers may unleash a much more versatile version of Watt, designed to keep offensive coordinators guessing. Looking ahead, here's the most realistic scenario. The Steelers are on track to finish strong this season, likely placing somewhere in the mid to late 20s in the first round of the draft. That position creates a challenge. If the front office identifies a quarterback they believe can lead the franchise into the future, staying put won't be enough. To secure their guy, Pittsburgh would almost certainly have to trade up, and that move could cost them not just this year's pick, but future first-rounders as well. It's a high price, but one the team might be willing to pay if they see a true franchise cornerstone available. Now, shifting to another storyline, Cam Heyward's contract standoff. This situation has turned into a quiet chess match between player and organization. On one hand, the Steelers absolutely have the financial flexibility to give Cam the raise he's seeking. On the other hand, the front office may be testing just how far his loyalty goes. Cam, of course, has made it clear that he wants to compete for a Super Bowl now, not sit on the sidelines. But here's the truth. Without him, Pittsburgh's defense doesn't look the same. The numbers from last season were eye-opening. When Cam was on the field, the run defense was one of the best in the league. When he wasn't, it was an entirely different story. So who blinks first? Does the team bet on Cam's competitive fire to keep him on the field without a new deal? Or does Cam push back, knowing that his absence could derail the Steelers' championship hopes? Either way, this battle carries massive weight for how far Pittsburgh can go this season. By the time you hear this, there's a real chance the Cam Heyward standoff could already be settled. But until it is, the uncertainty lingers, and it raises one pressing question. How much should fans really worry? The truth is, Heyward's importance to the Steelers cannot be overstated. His presence turns the defense into one of the toughest units in the league, and without him, Pittsburgh's path to contention grows a lot steeper. For now, though, the situation remains tense, and every day without progress only adds more pressure. Shifting gears, let's talk about the bigger picture. Can this team put it all together for an entire season and actually make noise in the playoffs? The potential is there, but several pieces have to click at once. The offensive line must take a serious leap forward. A true second receiving threat has to emerge or be acquired. The run game needs to be consistent enough to crack the top half of the league. And of course, health will be everything. T.J. Watt, Cam Heyward, Jalen Ramsey, even Aaron Rodgers. If any of them go down for an extended stretch, the whole equation changes. Still, if the key stars stay on the field and the supporting cast holds up, Pittsburgh could absolutely be in the playoff mix. Winning the AFC North won't be easy with Baltimore looming, and road playoff games are never simple. But give this team a healthy roster and momentum, and the odds of winning at least one postseason game feel better than a coin flip. As for quarterback Will Howard, don't expect to see much of him in 2025. Unless disaster strikes, Aaron Rodgers will take every meaningful snap, with Mason Rudolph waiting in the wings if Rodgers misses time. Howard's role this season will be more about learning than leading. For Will Howard, the reality is simple. Barring multiple quarterback injuries or a lost season where the Steelers are completely out of playoff contention, his chances of seeing meaningful snaps this year are slim to none. The coaching staff views 2025 as a year of learning for him, not leading. And even in an emergency situation, there's a strong possibility the team would turn to a more experienced backup like Skylar Thompson, before throwing Heyward into the fire. The only scenario where Heyward might get a shot is late in the year if the Steelers are eliminated from the postseason picture. In that case, the team could use a couple of games to evaluate him against live NFL defenses, but that's a long shot for now. Now, looking ahead to the draft picture, where Pittsburgh ends up selecting next spring depends entirely on how far they push this season. A mid to late 20s pick feels like the most realistic outcome if the Steelers reach the playoffs, but fall short in the first round. But if this team manages to win a postseason game, that draft position could slide even further down the board. And of course, the ultimate dream scenario is picking 32nd overall, a spot reserved only for the Super Bowl champions. Realistically, the Steelers aren't going to be drafting in the teens. Even in a worst-case scenario, this roster has too much talent to bottom out that far. The far more likely outcome is a pick in the 20s, somewhere that reflects a solid season and at least a playoff push. Now, wide receiver depth is another topic that keeps coming up. At the moment, the options available through free agency or trade aren't exactly inspiring. Sure, names like Odell Beckham Jr. or Nelson Aguilar are floating around, but if the Steelers were serious about adding a veteran before Week 1, it likely would have happened already. Integrating a new receiver this late is a challenge, and the front office knows it. Instead, Pittsburgh seems determined to give Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin III every opportunity to prove themselves. The organization believes both have the speed, toughness, and potential to grow into reliable second and third options behind their top target. If that experiment works, the passing game could be more balanced than many expect. But if it doesn't, that's when the trade deadline becomes interesting. Around mid-season, situations can shift quickly, and players like Romeo Dew, or even a surprise star whose team decides to reset, could suddenly be in play. The Steelers won't hesitate to explore that market if their young receivers fall short. As for the quarterback debate, there's an intriguing choice between Green Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier. If the Steelers had to throw one into action right now, the safer bet would be Nussmeier, steady, poised, and more game-ready. But Sellers is the wild card. Built like a tank, fast for his size, and armed with a cannon, he brings the kind of raw upside that can change games. He's unpolished, sure, but the talent is undeniable. Garrett Nussmeier is quickly becoming one of the most intriguing quarterback prospects in college football. He's a fearless competitor who plays with confidence, unafraid to squeeze passes into tight windows. That aggressiveness can get him into trouble at times, but it also shows a level of trust in his arm and vision. Stylistically, he resembles Matthew Stafford, less mobility, but strong mechanics, sharp anticipation, and the ability to process defenses in real time. One of his greatest strengths is working the middle of the field. He delivers strikes with timing and precision, something that translates well to the NFL level. Against Clemson, he completed over 70% of his throws, passed for more than 200 yards, and showed off his deep ball ability with a perfectly placed touchdown. Performances like that are why scouts view him as a rising name in next year's draft. Shifting back to Pittsburgh, the wide receiver debate continues. Some fans question why the Steelers didn't pursue a player like Emeka Egbuka, but the front office clearly believes in Roman Wilson. Drafted in the third round, Wilson isn't just a developmental piece. He brings speed in the 4.3s, crisp acceleration, reliable hands, and underrated blocking ability. The Steelers see him as a long-term number 2 option, and they're ready to give him every opportunity to prove it. Skepticism is understandable after last year's struggles with Van Jefferson, but this season feels different. Wilson and Calvin Austin III are expected to play critical roles, and both bring skill sets that fit the offense's evolving identity. The one vulnerability remains depth. If DK Metcalf were to miss time, there's no true replacement for his role. That's why names like Gabe Davis or Marquez Valdes-Scantling have lingered on Pittsburgh's radar. If a move comes before the trade deadline, it'll likely be for a big-bodied ex-receiver to stabilize that position. For now, though, the Steelers are confident in what they have. And with Week 1 against the Jets just around the corner, the questions about receivers, quarterbacks, and roster depth will finally start to find real answers on the field.